Hello, everyone. My name is Leroy Smith, and I'm the proud founder and CEO of Realized Curriculum Solutions. At Realized Curriculum Solutions, we are focused on accelerating the learning of all students, specifically students with learning challenges and disabilities, so that they can live joyous and successful lives. In this mini lesson, you will learn how to accelerate the learning of your students through systematic instruction. Just as much as systems can oppress, they can uplift. And in education, often we are discombobulated and all over the place, which does not center our students to be successful or joyous. In this mini lesson, you will come away with 3 tips on how to use systematic instruction to increase the academic outcomes of your learners. Get ready and take note. Tip number 1 is to always activate and assess students' prior knowledge. All of our students come to us as educators, educational leaders, and parents and caregivers with knowledge already. Knowledge that we may not be privy to because we have not assessed them to see what they already know. So activating prior knowledge might sound like, how many people in this class have a pet with 4 legs? Now, you might be teaching a science lesson about animals with 4 legs, such as elephants or hyenas and so forth, but you might want to start off by activating their prior knowledge. Perhaps there are students in your class who already have a pet that has 4 legs, and you can ask those students to describe their pet. And then as you get into the lesson, which we're going to talk about for tip number 2, maybe the learning goal is to compare and contrast different animals and different habitats with 4 legs. But you're starting with a point where they can get into this. All systems that are supposed to benefit people must start with people. That means we must activate their prior knowledge and their strengths as they are, and then assess to see what they need to learn further. So when we do this step, we want to first activate the prior knowledge and assume that our students have some kind of knowledge somewhere within the content we're teaching, and also assess to see where are there areas where students need to grow within that content area. Tip number 2, analyze the learning goals. I gave you an example of a learning goal for tip number 1, which the learning goal is that students will compare and contrast animals in different habitats that have 4 legs. This is a pretty common scientific goal for elementary school students, and it's a goal that is reasonable for a lot of students. However, there will be some students who will not have access to having a pet that might have 4 legs. However, when we analyze this learning goal, we have to first acknowledge that some of our students will have this background knowledge and some may not. That's the first step, is assessing what do they already know about this goal. The next step with analyzing this learning goal includes what are the actions that students must do. Well, first they must compare and contrast. So we're talking about similarities and differences. So we need to assess to see and to really understand in this learning goal that our students have to see what is similar and different between different animals in different habitats that have 4 legs. So there's a level of specificity here, because if you're talking about an animal in the savannah versus the Great Plains with 4 legs, that's going to be different. And as a result, our students are going to have to apply these skills of comparing and contrast differently. There's also the skill set of identification here, identifying this habitat versus that habitat. So habitat A might be somewhere in the savannah. Habitat B might be somewhere in the Great Plains. So analyzing the learning goals will show you what knowledge students must learn and acquire, and what skills must they learn and acquire and use to access that knowledge. And analyzing these learning goals will help you develop systematic instruction, because you know where the end point is for your students, in this tip number 2, you know what the end point is because you know what the goal is. But in tip number 1, you know what the starting point is what students already know and what they need to know to accomplish these learning goals. Tip number 3, create developmentally appropriate and sequential lessons. What does that mean? Developmentally appropriate just means that you are considering what your students are already capable of doing. This is back to tip number 1 with activating and assessing your students' prior knowledge. Knowing that your students may only be at the level, remember this learning goal of comparing and contrasting animals with 4 legs in different habitats? Maybe your students are only at the level of just identifying the name of habitats and the animals that are there with 4 legs. Maybe they're not at the point just yet where they can compare and contrast those different animals, like comparing and contrast a wolf versus a hyena. Now, this can be quite challenging for a lot of teachers and parents and caregivers, is because we want to rush the process because if we're really clear on that, the learning goal, we know what the end result is. However, we have to consider, where are our students? What is developmentally appropriate? Perhaps it's just developmentally appropriate to design a sequential lesson where first we're identifying habitats. Next, we're identifying 4 legs in the savannah, 4-legged animals in the savannah, then 4-legged animals in the Great Plains. Then we're going to compare, how are they similar? They both have 4 legs, they both have sharp teeth, they both have fur, they both have live babies. How are they different? One is larger than the other, their prey is different, the climate is different. So you see how we're developmentally making this appropriate? We're starting where as we all know, the zone of proximal development, right above where students' independent level is. We're starting right there because we would have already activated and assessed their prior knowledge. And we're going just the next step above to make it sequential and developmentally appropriate so we can move them step by step by step to the end goal of the learning goal that we established for our students. Let's summarize what we've learned today in this mini lesson on accelerating learning through systematic instruction. We have learned that this research-based high-leverage practice is designed to show us as educators, parents, and caregivers on how to meet the needs of our students and to accelerate their learning to accomplish amazing things academically. So the 3 tips that you learned in this mini lesson were: 1, to activate and assess students' prior knowledge. 2 is to analyze the learning goals that students are working toward. And 3, to create developmentally appropriate and sequential lessons. For far too long, our educational system has been in the model of rushing students through content. What this means is that students have not been able to master much content or skills, and it is increasing and steadily increasing academic gaps for all of our students, specifically students with learning challenges and disabilities. At Realized Curriculum Solutions, we are here to change that approach because we are child-centered, responsive, and empowering. We want to make sure that all students get what they need so they can live joyous and successful lives. We accelerate their learning through research-based practices and by getting in contact and connection with our community and the students within our community. So if you want to continue to support the learning that you're receiving now through this mini lesson, or just Realize Curriculum Solutions in our growth and development, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, and share this mini lesson video with whomever you think will benefit from it. Additionally, follow us on our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And finally, visit our website, www.realizedcurriculumsolutions.com, so you can learn more about our services and our products that we offer. As always, I hope that you realized a solution that works for you today. Until next time, see ya.